So it's important for the company to look at the external environment and match it with what it has internally. Now the way to do this is something like this, where you look at the environmental threat and opportunity and classify it as a major opportunity, a minor opportunity, neutral, minor threat, major threat, and finally you also put what you think in your considered view is the probability of occurrence. There are several ways to do it. We have also looked at it in the earlier chapter on marketing research and the information system. Now if you take political, there are changes, there are people who might be aligned with a particular political formation and they might see a lot of their business change dramatically. A good example might be cable and satellite television, especially the last mile distribution and access, where a change of political formation in states like say Tamil Nadu could lead to dramatic changes in the relative position of different players. In the very same business, on the other hand, you will find that technology might obviate some of these challenges. Dish technology, satellite dish technology, which puts more power in the consumer's hands, but actually creates more power for the distributor of the signals, the larger companies, but might completely negate the influence of the provider on the ground, the last mile access cable TV operator. You might find that creates a new sets of opportunities and threats. So similarly, the social aspect today, if they look at same telephone, cable and satellite television, if you have a high definition cable and satellite TV provision, you are considered one up on your neighbor who may have to live through ads during a major sporting event like the World Cup cricket. Now, does somebody want to really have the latest and the bestest? Well, that depends on what his need is to look socially better. So there are a lot of social challenges, social requirements here also which come into play. Each of these, a company which is in that space, be it a Tata Sky or a Sun TV or a Z television or a Hathaway cable, each of them can look at different aspects and see what is in it for them. And sometimes you may want to even do it by geography, because that's the nature of the market. So if you look at demographical issues, again you look at the entertainment business, a lot of movies today are being aimed at the young audience. By young I mean typically the 18 to 25 or 18 max 30 years age group, typically male. Now why is that so? Because today many people are maybe not aware, but more than 50% of India is below 30 years of age, and therefore this is the crowd which is more likely to go with their friends to a theatre and see a movie, as opposed to a family who might find that a more expensive exercise and would rather see it at home. Maybe even a different kind of DVD or Blu-ray CD, rather than go out to a theatre, spend money on transportation, parking, the ticket and the food and other things over there, which considerably might set him back by 1,000 or 2,000 rupees depending on where he is going. So as you can see, there are several ways by which a company can map external opportunities and threats and figure out what it means for him. Now we talked about the microenvironment, we talked about the external environment, but there is also the third aspect, which is the internal environment, which comprises various internal functions from HR to finance to operations, all of which have an influence on how the marketing department and the marketing function performs finally. It's also affected by the organizational processes and the allocation of responsibilities within the organization. For instance, if marketing department wants to issue a credit note to a particular intermediary for certain activities or for certain reasons, the finance department could delay the entire process and erode the goodwill that the intermediary, that the company had with that intermediary. So there are several things that impinge the effectiveness of the marketing function, and there are several things which come from within the internal functions itself of a company. So given the fact that the external environment is so dynamic, given the fact that intermediaries, the other stakeholders in the value chain can all be very fickle and really need a lot of nurturing and caring and cultivation, what is vital is that the marketing organization particularly, and the entire organization today, because today organizations need to be market and customer facing, they need to be very adaptable, and for that flexibility is extremely vital, because without that flexibility, even a couple of years can create major chaos. A lovely example is that of Nokia, which within a matter of 2 years has seen its very gargantuan market share in mobile phones get depleted hugely by newer entrants like Apple and the Google Android phones. It also requires the company to have flexibility with respect to its people, especially its labor force. But that's a big challenge, especially in a country like India, where there are so many checks and balances, especially for the organized sector, in removing labor force pretty easily. And it's also vital for a company to be able to fairly easily downsize or expand capacity. So as you can see, the external environment, the internal environment, the micro environment all have a pretty interesting and major role to play, and can impinge on the marketing department's ability to make decisions, as also an organization's competitive effectiveness. Now, it's important for companies to realize that we may not have, as professionals, that much influence on a majority of external environment variables, but we need to understand them, figure out how they impact us, and be adaptable and flexible. Therefore, it's important for us to constantly monitor what is happening and identify the suitable opportunities and take care of the threats.